Well, now we have the left hand to counterspell's right, Dispel Magic.
Magic.
Third level Abjuration, casting time of 1 action, range of 120 feet, components verbal somatic, duration instantaneous. Choose one creature, object, or magical effect within range. Any spell of 3rd level or lower on the target ends. For each spell of 4th level or higher on the target, make an ability check using your spellcasting ability. DC equals 10 plus the spell's level. On a successful check, the spell ends. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 4th level or higher, you automatically end the effects of a spell on the target if the spell's level is equal to or less than the level of the spell slot you used. Before I go on to my own opinions of the spell and my own read of what the wording actually means, let's head to our first guest of the series, Thega Yerest.
I'm Thega Yerest, pronounced however you choose. You may know me from the series Critically Misused, where I talk about misunderstood aspects of D&D. Thank you for inviting me, Zaktact. It's a joy to be here. Dispel Magic works basically the same as Counterspell. The main difference is that Dispel Magic uses your action instead of your reaction, meaning you can't counter an instantaneous spell. No stopping fireballs, but you can stop a burning sphere. It's much more limited in scope, and almost never the better option. There are some niche interactions with monsters, such as Clockwork Horrors, but for my money, it's always the weaker spell. Pick it up if you're playing an Abjuration Wizard or your DM banned Counterspell, but otherwise leave it aside. And no, you can't dispel non-spell effects, such as item enchantments.
They are right if you're looking at the angle of Counterspell. If you are just wanting to directly counter a spell being cast, then yes, Counterspell is the better option. Dispel Magic is, even at 1, doesn't stop anything instantaneous. 2, at best, the spell's going through for at least 1 round before you can do anything about it. So yeah, the Fireball example you can't use, but you can do it on Flaming Sphere. Where I do have to come on here is the fact that it can't be used on objects. It specifically states it can be used on objects, but you do have the point that there isn't any ruling for it, and I think this is more for the point of a spell effect on an object, like a glyph of warding or a symbol, but why wouldn't that just be the magical effect? Because you can target a creature, magical effect, or an object. Bit strange in that wording. One leg up that this does have on Counterspell, even though they're both the same level and this is an action, not a reaction, is the fact this has a range of 120 feet where Counterspell only has a range of 60 feet, which kind of describes this as a separate feature. Normally, when I'm thinking Dispel Magic, at least when first, is close range is to dispel or disable traps or to stop an effect that's on one of your allies. Where in reality, this is more of a buff killer. Range of 120 feet, still instantaneous, takes an action to cast. This is to stop a spell effect that an enemy is benefiting from. It's not a debuff, it's an anti-buff. Still has to make the same DC check that Counterspell does, and yes, if you're an Abjurationist, pick it up. And I do have to agree on the magic, using this on magic items ones, there's no rules for it, even though it says it affects an object, that's probably for spell effects that are on objects. I mean, in my games, I have homebrew that allows it to be used on objects, which makes the spell a lot more useful, but the fact that the spell needs that in the first place is kind of telling. So I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. 7 out of 10, because it still allows for upcasting and is good if you're using this as disabling spells on enemies. And it depends, that's the thing, it depends how often you're coming across magical traps, latent effects, or enemies that are using spells that have a duration, whether it's curse on an ally or on themselves to buff them. Though outside that rating, I'd also like to thank Thega Yerest for coming on and helping me with today's video. And go to his channel, like and subscribe and share it, and that also goes for mine. Like, subscribe, share, stick around. Whether you're from the Critically Misused series or from Spell a Day, why not watch both? I make one of them, watch the other, so I already kind of do. A link to their channel in the description.